In this video, we'll be showing you how to install a ring with webbing in a corner patch assembly for a sail. This ring in webbing would usually go in the clew of a sail. In this sail, we're going to use 5 layers of a patch assembly. Your sail may have more or less depending on its size. We'll take the 4 layers and glue them together with a Super 77 spray adhesive. The 5th layer we'll save for last. After the smallest of the patch assemblies are glued together, starting with the smallest and going to the largest, and then saving the absolute largest for last, we'll move on. This is the 4 panels glued together, and we take a pencil and mark the position for that ring at the absolute corner of that patch assembly. Then we take webbing and install double-sided tape to the back side of this webbing. You can see here she leaves a little spot in the center for the insertion of the ring, so the ring doesn't stick to the double-sided tape. Then she inserts the webbing inside the ring. We will use scissors to cut out the position for the ring. Alright, we're going to lay this webbing, or sandwich this webbing with the Dacron in the middle so that it's not on top of itself. A lot of people have sewing machines that cannot sew through 2 layers of webbing plus the Dacron assembly. So by offsetting this webbing a little bit, a lot of people can sew it with just their regular sewing machine. So that we recommend you do this with all of your webbing and ring applications. You'll notice that Deb has peeled back the paper revealing the glue, and then she just sticks it on top of that patch assembly. Remember, we're saving the largest patch for last. That we are not contending with at this point. We'll contend with that later. Now she flips the panel over and bastes the other leg of webbing on right up, butted up against that edge, as you see here in the video. We'll take that second loop of webbing, insert it in the ring, and we'll do the same procedure all over again. Positions the other side, and then she makes a twist to the bottom side so that it's actually basically the same as the other side. This top side will be flush with that one edge. Peels off the paper, sticks down the webbing to the Dacron. By using the double-sided tape, we make it easier for sewing because the webbing won't move around on us while we're trying to put our zigzag stitches onto the webbing, or straight stitches if you don't have a zigzag machine. Most of the Sailrite sail kits come with just 2 strips of webbing. Some may come with 3. If they come with 3, just position them approximately the same way we're positioning here, except for you'd be using 3 strips instead of just 2. There we are. Now we take that over to the sewing machine and we sew a zigzag right along the edge of the webbing, remembering to reverse the stitches at the beginning and also here at the end. If you do not have a zigzag machine, just put 3 to 4 straight stitches right along this webbing on the inside and the 2 outer edges. Here we are doing the second pass, and here you can see us reversing at the beginning, and then we'll also reverse at the end. We're not going to show the whole thing, but this is what the assembly looks like after it's all been sewn in place. Now we have not contended with that 5th layer. Now we're going to do that now. This is the 5th patch layer, and she's marking it with a grease pencil here, the inside of the ring, and she's going to pre-cut her leather. This is a butterfly shaped leather that we're going to use to finish off this corner assembly and also to provide chafe protection. You can see how she does it. She just butts up those marks with the other marks, and that makes a good pattern for your butterfly leather. Now all we need to do is cut it out. A pair of scissors is definitely what works best with leather.
Okay, once we get it done, it'll go through here. We'll see that in a minute.
We'll now concentrate on that largest patch that needs to be basted onto the patch assembly we use to sew the webbing and the ring on. And she's just marking the position for that ring, and she's going to cut it out prior to gluing that last patch assembly onto the assembly we sewed with the webbing and the rings. She uses Super 77 spray adhesive. This is a 3M glue, and thoroughly coats that patch assembly. And then glues it onto that last larger patch assembly. This will be the side that you're seeing right here that will be basted onto that sail. So you will not see the webbing. Here's what you'll see on the top side of the sail. So we're going to again take that over to our makeshift cardboard box that we fabricated to prevent the glue from going all over the loft. We recommend that if you're going to do a lot of gluing. And then we take it over to our sail and we baste it onto that glue. This patch assembly can be moved around and also reapplied if you find that there are wrinkles or bubbles in it. If you don't use Super 77 spray adhesive, you may use basting tape. Here we're cutting away the other side of the sail assembly. She takes this over to a light so that she can see the bottom layers of patch assemblies and just uses a pencil, and we're using this as a guide for sewing. Then take it over to the sewing machine and sew in a zigzag, about a 3/16 inch wide and a 3/16 inch long zigzag, and sew along those guidelines she marked with a pencil. Okay, and that's right along each one of the inside edges of each patch assembly. Okay, no need to reverse the machine at the beginning and the end. The tapes will actually cover the beginning of your stitches, so no need to reverse. Notice how she buries the needle, then lifts the foot and rotates on the needle, then lowers the foot and continues to sew when she gets to one of those corner assemblies. That's a good idea to do there. Alright, when you're done sewing that, we're going to move on. Now, we're not going to show installing tapes and hems if your sail had hems or tapes. I don't know which one it has, but first you would sew on the hems and the tape before proceeding on and working with that ring. After the tapes and hems are sewn on, which you can see here in the video, Deb takes an awl and pre-punches a hole. Well, first she's marked the positions for each one of those holes, and then she pre-punches the holes, and then she'll take a hand needle and she'll sew a straight stitch right around here. This is what it'll look like when it's done. Deb's going to actually take her twine and put a knot in the end of the twine and start it just in one of those pre-punched holes here. The knot will be hidden by the butterfly leather at the in the later steps, so don't worry about the knot showing up. But she's also going to take a hot knife and kind of create a button with the pre-waxed twine in a later step. Here she is sewing that first pass all around the back side of the ring to secure it in place. You can see the webbing there in the video as well. And now she's reversing it back over to complete those stitches. Here's an illustration of what it'll look like when you're done. You can see the twine securing the ring in place. And let's move on. We're not going to show the whole process of her sewing that second pass. But here we are with it almost done, and she puts a knot in here as well to secure the loose edge of thread after she's done. Okay, now Deb will take a pair of scissors and cut off the excess twine. Then she'll take a hot knife and touch the pre-waxed twine until it creates a nice button. And you can see here she just keeps touching it until it creates a beautiful button, and that prevents it from ever coming undone. And she'll do that to all of the twine. We'll now go back to that leather that we cut into a butterfly shape, inserted in the ring as shown here in the video. And then we're going to use an awl to pre-punch a hole for the insertion of the needle. Since we have to go through 2 layers of leather and also all those layers of Dacron, it's a good idea to pre-punch a hole with an awl or a pick about every 1/4 inch or so. Deb ties a knot in the end of her twine. In lieu of tying a knot, you could just leave a few inches of twine exposed at your beginning stitch and then tuck them under future stitches. Then she's just going to continue sewing across this tail end of leather with a straight stitch, and each one of those straight stitches is about a 1/4 inch away from each other. Obviously you have to go down one side of the leather, then you'll come back from the other. So we're not going to show all this. We're going to skip ahead to show the finished results with that first pass. There you can see the first pass. Now we're just turning around and doing the other direction to complete that straight stitch along this inner edge of leather. Okay, we're not going to show all this either, but let's show you the end result here in this video. There's the end result without doing the sides yet. As we did previously, we'll take a hot knife to any of these loose ends of twine and touch it until it forms a nice button. There we go. You don't want to burn the leather, just the twine. Now that we have that one edge sewn down, we'll trim the edges of this leather to make them flush with the sail. They will always be a little bit larger than the pattern you started with. And here we're using a similar tool as the awl or a pick, it's just a little bit faster. To do the other side, we'll flip the sail over and do the same technique. Again, you probably won't have this specialized tool, but you can use an awl or a pick. There are many that will just use a palm in lieu of pre-punching holes with an awl or a pick. A palm is a good way to push the needle through thick assemblies. Alright, once that's done, we'll take our needle and thread and start stitching those sides together. Again, she has a knot here in the twine to keep it from pulling. You could just leave a few inches and tuck it under future stitches. And she'll just continue to sew. We'll start from the outside here and then sew from the inside here. So we'll just continue to do that back and forth until we get up to the ring itself. Now we stitch from the inside. Now we'll stitch from the outside on the other side, and then to the inside, and outside, and inside, all the way up. Alright, moving on. We're not going to show this whole process here. Now we are here at the top of the ring, and you'll see what she does next. Now she'll pass that twine and needle through the back side of this leather here. First she's going to do one tuck here just to secure it all in place here. So she does a tuck under a pass stitch that she did, and then passes a needle through the back side behind this ring. This is a quick shortcut in lieu of having to start on the other end and then tuck your thread or either tie a knot in the thread. So now we can just start sewing again. If your leather is a little bit on the inside of the edge, don't worry about it. Sewing this down the length of this will stretch your leather over the edge of the sail. In fact, sometimes it's a good idea not to have too much leather here. It's actually good to be a little bit short, because when the finished product is done, it will stretch that leather over the edge nicely. Okay, we aren't going to show the whole process again, but here it is, almost done here. She's just going to pass it through close to this corner. One more time. And now she'll tuck it under some of those previous stitches. And you can see here she's also going to do a little bit of a knot as she tucks it in here. There we are. Then she'll take a hot knife, as she did previously, and form a nice button. She'll do that to all of the trailing edges of twine. Keeps it from coming undone. Alright, we're all done. We've got a beautiful ring in here that is secured with webbing, and it will be very solid and secure for whatever application you're going to use it for. I'm Eric Grant with Say Alright. Thanks for watching this video.